Death Watch.
Okay, welcome back. We are playing Dungeons and Dragons version 3.5. I'm Brandon, Dungeon Master today, and we're playing Cradle of the World campaign. So we'll start with Chris to do our player introductions. Talk about what our characters are doing.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm playing Casimir. I think Casimir's worried about Rohan right now. He's not back yet. And it's getting, midday now? Afternoon? I don't know. I'm done.
Yeah, that's you and Fenrith Graham brought that shipwrecked stranger back to your home to give him some rest and some food and to shut the doors on the giant barn.
Yeah, I'm Travis. I'm playing Graham, the rogue, the hero of the sea, and I would say I'm still a little suspicious of this shipwrecked human. I'm thinking of the gargoyle friend I made that turned on me all that time ago. Can he really be trusted? I don't think so.
Justin?
I'm Justin. I'm playing Rohan, the hero of the sky. Currently, I am frantically trying to bring all of the citizens of the island of Cradle back to the main town so that we can shelter from this magical hurricane that's on its way.
And I'm John. I'm playing Fenrith, hero of the flame. And I am trying to fortify the temple, Coralan Rathian. Sorry, I can't speak today. Yeah, one of those. In order to help shelter all of the citizens of Cradle.
All right, so just a short refresher. Graham and Casimir found some stranger skulking about the village, and they confronted him and captured him in Casimir's net and found out that he is a man named Mudsway, and he's a human, and he's shipwrecked here. He said that his ship was dashed to pieces against the cliffs to the west and that he barely survived, and none of his companions on the ship survived that he's aware of. And so they brought him back to the home of the heroes to give him some rest and some food as he was right on the edge of collapsing. And then Fenrith is at the temple grounds, and he is consecrating certain images to Coralan. And whilst doing this, an apparition appeared and begins trying to talk him out of it and tempt him away from it, promising that he'll fail and that if he joins with this dark figure, he'll have the ultimate peace, which, according to the images that he projects to Fenrith, that seems to be the complete absence of all existence. But so far, he's managed to continue his work without falling sway to this figure's words. And then Rohan went out to the farmlands and the newly appeared forest to gather up all the people that don't live in town to get them to come to town to shelter on the temple grounds and join in a prayer to Coralan to hopefully save them from this magical storm that approaches. And as he was going about that, he happened upon a unicorn, and the unicorn agreed that she would take him to the outlying peoples if he would convince them after it was all over, should there be any survivors, to only cut down the trees that she marks. And he promised that he would use his influence in that regard. And so he hopped up on her back, and in a blink, she brought him to a large farm where a few families live close to each other, and it cleared away a great deal of trees in order to reclaim their farmland. So that's where he is. And that's where we'll start, Rohan. So you're on the outskirts of this, and you can see the homes that have been built and all the work that's being done. And you're on the edge where the trees have been removed and the fields have been flattened, and you can see to the east where they've piled up all the boulders that they've pulled out of the ground, and then there's tree stumps here and there still, but people are working on removing those as well. And there is some evidence that some of the land has been prepared for farming. It's got rows and things of that sort. So off by the houses, you can see a lot of activity. There's, kids running around doing chores, firewood's being chopped, boards are being sawed, homes are being built. But there you are on the outskirts, and she stays back in the trees and says, "I'll be here when you're ready to move on."
All right. So, yeah, I'll kind of go trotting through the fields in clear view, calling out to the people working that we have an announcement that needs to be made in the name of the Heroes of Cradle, and try and gather them all towards the house.
Okay. Yeah, so you move off that direction and you start shouting out, and people immediately take notice of you. And you can see a lot of the people working out in the field stop and they watch you for a bit. But eventually they confer with each other and they look confused, but eventually they stop what they're doing and they all start to gather around this central house. There's like 3 houses that are complete, and one in the middle is the biggest. And about 100 feet from it is the well that they've dug, and that seems to be where you'll meet them. And you meet up, and there's a wagon nearby, and you can hop up and say what you have to say. So you recognize, as you look across all the faces there's about 30 people if you're counting children. You recognize almost half of them, but the other half you notice are not people that were here before. But there's an interesting thing that happens as people are gathered around and you hop up there to start talking. And some of the newcomers, especially the younger ones, they start to, hey, who's this? But the ones that have been here since the beginning quickly shush them and, indicate that they should pay attention to you. So now, right, as you explain to them what you're explaining, you can see that it's darker than it ought to be because clouds are starting to cover the sun a little bit. So you can't, from where you are, because of the hills, you can't see that storm line that you had seen before, but you can see what's being pushed ahead of it. So it's breezier than normal, and you can smell that it'll start raining soon, although it does smell odd. But so yeah, you explain this to them, and understandably, there's some of the newer ones have a lot of questions. Like, if there's a storm coming, what should we just leave our homes? We need to make preparations. We need to, close the shutters and batten down the hatches and get the animals inside.
I'll show some of the wounds that I still have, because I'm still 3/4 dead, and say that the heroes have flown our rocks through this magic storm, and we know its destructive power, and that the only hope is a magic buffer that we can try and set up in the town that they're preparing for the people, that homes and buildings can be rebuilt, that plants can be resown, but that human lives lost will never come back, or elven lives lost, I guess.
All right. So, it didn't take much convincing for the native population. So they're already turning to start gathering their stuff, and you can see them moving towards wagons to get them hitched up, and, they're having their kids run off to collect things. And some of the newer ones do that just out, just following the example. But one of them does stand up, and this is a young man by your estimate, probably in his 20s, and he's a strapping, well-built fellow, bigger than most elves, and so he raises his hand and he says, "We don't much believe in magic and never have. So I think we'll stay here and hunker down and try to get our homes ready for the storm."
All right. Make your preparations as best you can. I'm afraid I don't believe that they will avail you much. And my duty as hero of Cradle is not to force men to do what they don't want to do, but rather to do whatever I can to help your safety. I wish you the best, but I must move on. There are more people to warn.
All right. So yeah, you can see that you've he sounded confident at first, but now he's not so confident. And what you guess to be his wife is talking in his ear, but just about everybody else is getting things ready. And when you are satisfied that they've all heard you and are going about their business, and you go to turn back towards where the unicorn was, another man shouts out to you. And he says, "Hero, I've just remembered hang on one second. Well, he says the old woman, and he says a woman's name, but since I forgot to write it down, it's going to take me a second to find it. Lazari. He says the old woman, Lazari. She lives about a mile away. Someone will need to tell her. Do you want me to do it?
Are there any other settlements that I need to reach? I've been trying to find where the militia's been training as well. I have yet to find them either.
Well, we know that there's some people north of us following along these hills. It's a half a day's ride. I'm not sure how many are up there now, though.
Yeah, half a day. They probably wouldn't be able to make it back to town.
They don't really ride. Half a day's walk is what he said.
Okay. Is the old woman in that direction?
No, she's in the hills just outside the entrance to the swamps. We've tried to get her to move closer to us, but she's a little different. Some say the swamp fears her and not the other way around.
Yes, I'll try and stop by and gather her as well on my way further north to the other settlement. But please, when you leave, travel through the night. Don't waste. You can see the storm clouds gathering now, and there's no time that can be spared.
We'll leave at once, Hero. Thank you.
Right. And I'll run back out and try and find the unicorn again.
All right, so she's right where you left her. And she says, were you able to convince them?
Perhaps not all of them, but enough to make a difference. They mentioned an old lady that lives on the edge of the swamp. Do you happen to know her or of her?
All right, so do let's see here. Yeah, roll your sense motive.
Okay, toss that in the tower.
Okay, so you say that an old lady, and you haven't done a lot of talking with unicorns, so you're not 100% certain on their mannerisms. If they differ from horses, which clearly it's a different animal, but it seems to you like she's uncomfortable at the mention of an old lady. But she says, yes, I know of the old woman they speak of. I can take you close to her home.
All right. I appreciate your assistance in this matter. Let's depart immediately, if you don't mind.
Of course. We must hurry, shouldn't we? And
yes.
So she sort of like bends down, her front legs up to make it easier for you to get on her back, because she can tell that you're wounded.
So yeah, I'll hop up on her back and prepare to take off.
All right. So, Casimir and Graham, you guys have got Mutsue in there, and Folwyn is preparing him some food, and you've secured the hangar where your rocks can shelter from the storm. What would you like to do now?
Well, I'll look to Casimir, see if we have any duties. If not, then I think I'll go feed some coins into the gnomic transmogrification unit.
Actually, that's a good idea. Yeah,
All
let's
right.
go feed the gnomish thing.
So what should we try first, Casimir? I got...
Well, I'm going to take it you don't want to put the wand in. So how's about your ring?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So, yeah, I'll try to recharge the Ring of Ram. Which coin should we start with? I got silver ones, copper ones.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Intelligence or appraise to figure out which coins to feed? What? I'll say gold or platinum.
All right.
Well, do either of you speak or read gnome?
No.
I don't think so.
Do any of you? Do they have what is their language called? Don't they generally just speak Dwarven?
I thought so, because I live with them a lot, right?
Yeah, they generally just speak Dwarven.
I don't have Dwarvish.
Nomadic.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't have Dwarven either, so it's just going to be
But I do
guesswork.
have their other language, which is Infernal.
Mhm.
Little bastards.
Yeah, so I'll take 5 gold coins and put that into the slot.
All right. So, and then what? What did you?
The ring
What
of
are
Ram.
you trying to recharge?
The ring of Ram.
All right.
I guess I had it.
Okay. Yeah. So there is it's almost like a tray, almost like a plate, where you can place the item, and then slots like that you can put coins in, and so you place that ring of Ram on there, and you put in 5 gold coins.
Yes.
And then it starts. At first, nothing happens, but then some of the sections of the base of it start lighting up, and they make these odd colored runes that start flashing, and then it starts to shake.
It's going to blow.
like wildly, so that the rings bouncing on that tray. It's a miracle that it doesn't, pop out of there and fall onto the floor. But it doesn't. It stays there. So, let me do.
No, in my notes I have 47 charges, but that doesn't seem right. Did I refill it at some point in the past
I think it's probably 47 of 50 or whatever.
that I've used?
Yeah.
Yeah, that because I know my wand counts up.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that we did recharge slightly at some point. It wasn't a
Yeah.
whole lot.
Yeah, there was those crystals you guys found.
I only remember having a few charges in it, though. So I guess I'll think that I have 3 charges in it.
All right, so yeah, it starts to shake wildly, and some steam starts to come out from parts of it that you don't understand. It doesn't seem like there's places for steam to come out, but it does. And it starts shaking, and these runes start flashing, and it seems like almost a sequence that you can determine, but then it just as suddenly as it started, it stops, and it's still. And you can see this little flash of green light on your ring of Ram there 1 second and gone the next.
How do we know it works, Casimir? Can you see how many charges are on it with magic?
That's a good question. I guess what would there be? Like an analyze, what do they call it? Like Dwemer or whatever? Dwemer? I don't have that. How do we know how much charges our stuff has, Brandon?
Probably identify.
I'm eating a whole dang pearl to figure out if you're... I did prepare
Just
7.
use it.
Identify definitely does that. Let's see if
Yeah, identify, I think, is the way you do it in this edition.
All right.
1 second, let me make sure though.
Yeah, so I'll give a long exhale, kind of sigh, and begin spooning out enough pearl powder.
or maybe somewhere on the machine it has a number on it. Did you see anything change? I mean, besides all the shaking and smoking.
I was, well, I guess for lack of a better word, Graham, I was hiding once that started.
That's a smart move, Casimir.
Yeah, so I think identify is the way to do it.
Okay. Yeah. I'll, how do I do this here? Is there no... Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. So I cast Identify, drink 100 gold pieces worth of pearl, and
All right, so you
check out the
cast
ring.
that spell and over this ring and determine that it has 8 charges.
all right. So it's not full.
But I can
Right.
use it more now?
It does seem to be so, Graham.
All right. What should we try next?
So, but also when you go to pick that ring up, you hear this odd sound, and a little slip of paper comes out of the front of this thing. And it's about 2 inches wide,
Is it a
3
bill
inches long.
for
Yeah,
what's
a
owed?
receipt.
Okay, I'll grab it.
Is it in Dwarvish or Gnomish or something?
No, this when you look at it, it's in Elven.
Oh, nice.
But the weird thing about it is that it has this odd effect that you can't quite wrap your head around. It seems to be that it's written in all the languages you understand.
Okay.
And
Oh man.
you look at that, and it on in simple but precise writing on there, it says, "A black lake sits in an immense cavern. The lake is water, but water that has been changed. It doesn't merely look black. It is black."
What is this, a riddle?
I have no idea. The fact it must be important in some fashion, given that.
And then, so you look on the back of it, and it's got, in smaller writing near the top, you see something that says Gulavar's Prophecies, LLC.
Okay. But it must be important, given that it seems to be magically written. I can read this in several languages.
I guess I can too. Well, I'll hold on to it for now.
But the object seems to have done what we wanted it to. It recharged, though not fully. So perhaps more coins will feed or be transmogrified into energy for the ring.
Well, let's try the healing rod.
Do you really want to, Graham?
Yes, that one's... Well, I'm a cleric after all. I only have 12 of 50 on that one. Getting pretty low because I do so much healing. So I'll switch items, but I'm going to go a little crazy with the gold this time. And I'm going to put in 100 gold pieces.
Okay, and what item are you putting on there?
The obsidian wand, it's the wand or the rod of, what do you call it, cure critical wounds.
Okay.
Probably going to melt it. Bad news, Fenris. I can't be the cleric anymore.
Oh no, whatever will we do?
Yes, Graham will have to go back to being a thief instead
All right,
of
so
a
you
backup healer.
put that on there, and you put in 100 gold coins.
Yeah.
All right, so the slot for this is, one coin at a time. So this takes a good amount. And then once you finally get that 100th coin in there, about 10 seconds passes of nothing, and then it starts to shake again. And roll a percentile dice, and not in the tower.
59.
All right, so it starts shaking wildly, and steam starts coming out of it, and you hear this beeping sound start coming from it too. That sounds somehow insistent and panicked, but then a few seconds of this go by, and then it goes still, and you see this flare of green light travel along the length of that wand that you put on there, and then that light arcs off of there and hits your chest, and you can feel this odd sensation of traveling over your entire body. That it's like the feeling of when your arms go or your legs go to sleep, but it lasts for only a second and doesn't seem to do any harm to you.
Well, that was
you
weird.
all right?
I think so. Kind of feels like my legs are asleep. Well, it did.
So you ask him, "Are you all right?" And he answers like he just did, except for he's screaming it at the top of his lungs. And Graham, you realize you're screaming at the top of your lungs, but there seems to be nothing you can do about it.
I'm sorry about this, Casimir.
He screams at the top of his lung.
Just
It's
stop
like
talking.
Okay.
like he's screaming loud enough that you're sure he's going to damage his own vocal cords, right?
Perhaps the effect will pass in time, Graham. Just for now, be quiet.
Okay, how long do you think?
Yeah, so Folwyn, he opens the door and sticks his head in, and he looks at you both. Is everything okay, sirs?
Everything is fine, Falwyn. See to our guest.
Yes, of course. I just thought I heard shouting.
Nope.
Yes. Nope.
Well, I'll leave you to it. And so he leaves.
Good.
But yeah, that's what's happening so far.
I don't know. What would I do to perhaps get a time frame?
Well, I don't think there's anything you can do. I guess, that ray hit him, so you could do, what can you do? Spellcraft when a spell is cast to see if you can determine what that is, but does that work if there's not a person casting it?
Well, there's like a couple different things that it can do. Like if it hit me, I could try to determine it once I make a save.
Well, couldn't you determine it as it's being cast still? Because, I mean, it still had to trigger at some point.
Well, no, it's not speaking, so there's like nothing to pick out there, right?
I mean, make the DC a bit more difficult. You have this visual of the spell itself plus the effect.
Okay, so 20 plus spell level will allow me to identify a spell that's already in place and in effect. I must be able to see or detect the effects of the spell. I mean, it's making Graham shout. That
And
might be
his
one.
Her limbs all numb.
I think it's getting better.
It's
It
not
isn't.
getting better.
Or the 30 or higher would be to understand a strange or unique magical effect.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to hit.
Okay. You want it in the tower?
No, just go ahead and roll it.
Nope. So,
All right.
only
so-
time will tell, Graham.
Okay, it's not so bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
I fear that you might hurt yourself if you continue to speak, Graham. Sign language works.
Yeah,
We'll
as
see
a
if you
matter
can
of
yell
fact,
in that.
it does hurt. Like it's hurting your throat anytime you speak.
Okay, I'll switch over to the heroic sign language then.
Is he throwing punches?
He is. He's when he starts speaking in this sign language, he's doing it like you would shout if you're doing sign language. Like everything is very sharp and very, exaggerated, all the movements. And it's like it's
Making
to
me
the
tired.
point where you're putting so much energy into it that you're getting short of breath, and it even
Straining
makes,
muscles.
Yeah, it even hurts your wrists a little bit from chopping at
Well,
the air the way you are. So
That's at least quieter, Graham, and we will now be able to know when you have been cured of this affliction because you'll stop acting like this. But perhaps we should let the gnomish device rest for now.
I'll sign that I think he's right.
I'll kind of take a couple like when your friend swings at you, not like trying to hit you, but you are still kind of take that kind of lean back. I'll kind of be doing that when he's signing at me.
yeah, okay, all right. But that wand's still sitting on there. So
Yeah, I'll retrieve
Oh.
it and shout sign. Casimir, has this one gotten more?
I'll give it a try, I guess. That's 200 gold worth of pearls right there, Graham. Just thought you should know.
I'll give Casimir 200 gold.
do a
Not that.
Graham, do a reflex save.
Sure. Do I get my trap bonus to it?
No.
16.
All right. So when you grab that wand and you sign to Casimir to look at it, you're signing so hard that you fling it right out of your hand. And but luckily, right in front of you, and you're able to stick your foot out and cushion it so it doesn't shatter on the floor. But yeah, you do drop it.
I think if I was also giving him gold, I was doing a gold toss at him. 200 damage.
I'm joking about the gold. I still don't quite know if we actually have a concept of
Right.
value in currency.
Well, that's why.
All right, here goes. What's its oh, didn't want to roll. Okay, we'll go here and do it. There we go. Did I get it?
So
No.
you rolled a
Oh,
5.
failure.
Ridiculous.
All right, let's try it again.
Dude, you are rolling great.
You
can call it
son of
Cthulhu.
a.
Dude, a 5 and a 3%? Jesus.
That's I've got to say that's impressive.
It is if we're playing Call of Cthulhu. All right, there we go.
Okay. So yeah, you
Ouch.
cast Identify on the wand, and you can tell that it has 50 charges.
It's all full. I'll wait for to make sure Graham is either done replying or isn't going to reply before handing it back. And I'm also going to watch out when he offers his hand out to take it. He might frickin' try to drive his damn hand through my chest or something.
I will sign something as he's handing it back. That's great. That's totally full is what I'll be signing. Unarmed damage?
I don't think he overcame my AC.
Probably not.
Something weird is happening here.
We're doing wisdom checks.
Well, look at him.
They're super low, all 5s.
Yeah, everything's a 5 apparently.
Oh, right. So you did identify on that. So you identify actually that it has 50 charges and 5 charges.
50 and 5.
Oh, no.
So basically, all you're able to gather is that it has 50, but 5 of those, I mean, obviously you can't tell which. There's something different about them, but you're not able to determine. I mean, from looking at it, it seems to you like they hold the same form as all the rest, but there is something off about them.
I should warn you, Graham, that the gnomish device has altered the wand in some fashion. I'll just take a couple steps back before he asks any further questions.
Yeah, I wonder how I used the weird charges.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Should I test it
So
now?
there are 5 of them.
I'll ask Casimir.
So that starts out in a scream, but by the time you get to the last couple of words, you're back to speaking normally.
Oh, I'm better.
If you test it out far away from any where it would be a danger to anyone.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll wait then.
Okay. But I think that we should cease using this device for now. Maybe it needs to rest.
I agree, but in my head, I know I'll be out here late at night.
So once again, the slip of paper comes out of this device.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I'll snatch it up and read it.
All right, so this one says, in the middle of a small, dark granite room with a trapped stone door stands a 4-foot-high pedestal of the same stone. Standing on this pedestal is a golden skull, reputedly an artifact of great power and great danger. Simply taking the skull from the pedestal results in the room being sealed against exit, and the skeletal remains of those who have tried to steal the golden skull before litter the room. And then on the back it says, Gullivar's Prophecy, LLC.
Another prophecy. They must have been quite great wizards and priests back in whatever forgotten lands this all came from to just be able to dole out prophecies as such.
I guess so, but they seem to have an interesting grasp on magic, given what has happened with their machines, so perhaps we can't take it at face value. But we'll keep them just in case.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
So what's next, Casimir?
We're waiting for this storm. After our guest is fed, perhaps we should head over to the temple, introduce him to Fenrith, and acclimate him to the rest of the town, so as not to cause panic.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Okay, so Fenrith, you're standing in front of a tree, and you're deep in prayer, and you've been at this for quite a while now. I'll just show you a little map here. So, there you are on that map I've shared with you. And, you've got this is the temple grounds, and there's this this pretty circular area around it that's surrounded by trees of every different sort. Right now you're in front of a oak tree that has this sigil carved on it, and you're doing your prayers, and that figure still stands looming above you, whispering and chuckling from time to time. So let's have you do a fortitude save. All right. So this represents that, you've been up quite a while. You're wounded, tired, hungry, and it's taken a lot of energy to do this because as you're praying over these, you get the sense that there's almost a technique to whether your prayers are going to work. Like you can tell there's a certain feeling you get when you're actually putting your heart into it and acting out of faith versus when you're just repeating words in your head. It's like you're it's like you're giving your own energy to this. But you still stand strong. You can feel in the back of your mind the hunger pangs and the wounds that you've suffered and the fatigue, but you soldier on and you continue this prayer, and that figure still looming above you, still whispering. You're able to push it from your mind for the most part, but then with renewed force, he interjects on your thoughts again, and he says, "Let me show you what waits." And then you get this flash in your vision, and you see this temple grounds that you're on, and in this ring of trees, right on the edge of it, you can see a shield that it's translucent, but you can tell it's there, like it were made of glass. And you can see you and your companions and all the villagers inside that, and all of the villagers being led by Ythlani in a dance of worship of Corellon. And this storm rages outside, and black and purple lightning bolts slam at this shield repeatedly, and there's dark creatures moving out just outside, made of shadow, or maybe just in areas too dark for you to determine what they are, but their intent is unmistakable, and they all around they push to break through this shield that's blocking them and protecting you from the storm. And so when you turn your gaze to the temple, you can see that's where this shield is emanating from. The sigil of Corellon on the front of it is blazing white light, and that light is creating this force field that's protecting everybody. But on the edges where these dark creatures of different shapes press against it, some of them start to come through, and it's one or two at first, but then more and more, and you and your companions valiantly fight to defend the people, but you're not enough. And then these dark creatures of shadow and ooze, teeth and claws roll over the villagers who are helpless against them, and they're torn limb from limb, man, woman, and child. So that image flashes through your mind, and then you're back in front of that tree praying over it, but you'll need to make a will save.
What would it do if I used a hero point?
A hero point to what?
With to help increase my will save bonus. Would that give me a bonus? Can I use one like that? Or maybe let me re-roll if I fail? Because I want to issue the intent now so that... Okay. So yeah, I'll use the hero point. Do I use it now or if I fail?
Hang on one second. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, traditionally they're used to re-roll a failed roll.
Okay.
But it's not necessary in this case. So, once again, you go deep inside yourself and you focus on maintaining your task and forcing the voice out. And you manage to do that. And so you continue to pray over this sigil. But there is left behind a nagging thought that he's not taunting you with that vision. That, that might actually be what's going to happen when this storm rolls in.
So my thought here is he wouldn't be trying to tempt me to come over if he didn't know that it was a possibility that I could succeed. Right. So that's what's going to be driving that that desire or the will to continue on there.
Okay. All right. So you keep on about that, and you can hear the work continuing behind you at the temple, and people have started to arrive, and they're starting to, get set up, and a lot of them are resolutely determined to treat this exactly like a celebration festival, no matter how frightened they might be. So, they're getting, food brought in and tables set up and things like that. But so you continue on, and that will bring us to Rohan. So you hop on this unicorn's back, and just as before, she lurches forward, and the world seems to, blur, and then you find yourself in this clearing or this section where the trees don't grow. It's too close to the swamp. So the ones on the edge are kind of stunted, and they're not in the best health from the effects of the swamp soil. But you're looking out over. You've got some hills, and just on the other side of those is the swamp. And there's a few places along the hills that you remember from your exploration in your younger days. There's a few places that you can have easy access into the swamp, a few breaks in the hills where you can go, and you're at one of those.
Okay.
And to your surprise, you're actually south, not north, of the people you were just talking to. And
okay.
This section here, this path, is not very far at all from the haunted mine. There's a path through these hills, and you can see, flat ground all the way up to the hills, and then set into one of those hills is like a home, sort of like a hobbit hole. It's like built underground, but there's a door and even a porch, and there's a window even.
Well, now Rohan's envious. It seems like a perfect home. But yeah, I'll kind of trot my way up to the doorway, calling out for what was the name that they gave me? It was
Lazari.
Lazari, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Calling out for Lazari as I approach the building or the home set in the hill.
Okay, so you call out to that, and as you get to about 25 feet away from the porch there, the door opens, and a woman steps out, and she's at the very furthest limits of old age that your imagination can conceive. I mean, her face it seems to be just one wrinkle, but and she's stooped, and she's got a walking stick, and unmistakably elven, but the effects that have de-aged everybody else don't seem to have done the same for this woman. So she's about, under 4 feet tall, and she's hunched over, and she walks with the aid of this stick, and she looks up at you, and just that angle that she's forced to look, there's no way to look anything but sinister, and she's even got blemishes that elves normally don't, like bushy eyebrows and a wart on her skin, and her chin seems bigger than it ought to. But she walks to the edge of her porch, and she looks up at you, and she says, "Hail, hero! I've been waiting for you."
Well,
so do well, just let's make a wisdom check.
Okay, wisdom.
All right, so you're looking at her, and she steps forward. She says, "Hail, hero of the sky, I've been waiting for you." And right then and there, suddenly, you remember that you've heard of this woman before. Everybody had. Like, it was one of the myths of the village. All the kids heard about the crone from the swamp, and everybody knew she didn't really exist. And depending on which parent was telling the story, she would either do terrible things to the disobedient children, or she would be the sweetest and she would help anybody in need. And it just depended on the person and what they believed, but nobody had ever seen her. And everybody just sort of knew she's just a myth that people made up, but it's part of our tradition. So we keep talking about her, but here she is in the flesh in front of you. So the stories you've heard were that, whoever she was, that everybody agreed that she had frightening mystical powers of one sort or another. Some said she could read the future, and others said she was able to curse people, and others said she could lift curses, and most agreed that she could turn people into unnatural creatures if she wanted to, things like that. But here she is.
So some of those legends about lifting curses will immediately perk my mind about our rocks and how they seem to be under some sort of a curse. But I'll show her, as much respect as I can, and I'll say, Lazri, elder woman of the swamp and mystic, if you know that I was coming, then you know why I'm here, and that we may need your help to save the island of Cradle and the people of Cradle from this coming storm. I beg you to come to Cradle and assist us in protecting the people.
So she raises her hand and sort of, makes a impatient motion. She's like, yes, I know all of that. I know. And I will come to the village with you. But please, I'm an old woman. I need help. I can't leave without my things. They're very important, you see. And so she motions on her porch there. She's got like a giant pack, that would be more appropriate for an adult male that's healthy enough to walk, not a possibly old woman. And then there's some pouches, various pouches on a belt, and even a set of saddlebags. She's like, please, I'll get on, and then you'll have to strap this stuff to me. And to your surprise, she steps down off the porch and she mounts this broom and then she's just floating there above the ground on this broom. And she looks unsteady. So she's got her tongue, between her teeth as she's trying to focus, and she sways from side to side, and it seems almost like she's just going to pitch over, but eventually she rights herself and she arranges her dingy gray robes and looks satisfied with herself, and then she motions again impatiently for you to help her with her thing.
Okay, yeah, I'll help her get all of her stuff up on the broom with her.
All right, so you go start gathering that stuff, and then make a spot in the tower for me.
A spot.
And a listen.
All right, there's the spot and the listen.
All right. So you're gathering the stuff and you're hooking it onto this broom and you're trying to distribute the weight properly. And she's being generally polite. She's like, good job with that. Oh, to be a strong lad, strong back and worthy of a hero. And don't think that I don't know what you're hoping for. And we'll see. Some things are possible and some things are not. And you don't know what she means by that, but as you're getting her stuff situated, you can just see off the edge of her porch that path that snakes along. It's pretty straight, but it's got a turn here and there. But you can see into the swamp from there, and it looks just like it looks in movies where, you've got the bright, happy world of green grass along this, and then suddenly there's darkness and shadow and stunted, evil-looking trees and vines, and you can feel the heat baking off of that area, and you can smell the stagnant water and rotten fish and who knows what else. But as you glance back through there, for one moment, you think you see something that looks like a obelisk, but it moves behind the trees, and it's got this odd swaying motion to it. But when you look again, there's nothing there.
Okay. Well, with all the other strange stuff that I've dealt with today, mystical unicorns that were legends popping up and homes being in the tops of trees and everything. That's just kind of par for the course so far.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of mentally note that, and then ask her if there's anything else that she needs of me before she sets off. That I have more villagers that I must try and save.
She says, no, that should be all. But where is that darn cat? And she starts looking around and making, some noises, calling for her cat. And then
Yeah,
she
I'll
does
start
that for
moving
a couple
around the
minutes.
house to
Yeah,
try
so
and see if I can find it.
yeah, but you don't like as soon as you turn to go like on the porch, you can see the cat come shuffling out.
Okay.
As if it finally deemed you all worthy of its attention, the way cats do. And this is odd because this is only the second cat you've ever seen. But
Yeah,
this one is different than Omen for certain. It's it's like this dirty gray and black color, and it's got sections of fur missing. And it looks to you like it's got nubs on its belly where there used to be or were gonna be more legs, but it comes ambling out. Half of its tail is only halfway there. It's missing half of its tail, but it has good teeth, and it looks at you with the utter disdain that cats can give, and then trots past you and hops up on Lazari's lap. So she starts getting it situated, and she's like, you must hurry. The storm will be here soon. I'll meet you in the village.
Thank
Do you
you.
think your brothers will give me some quarters to stay in? We'll see. And then she cackles and jets off into the sky. So like there's this odd green light emanating from the broom as she, takes off like a rocket into the sky, and it looks insane because she's like not well balanced on there, and she's constantly swaying left and right, and she's doing this cackle that, only old women can do, that pierces your soul and makes you certain that true evil exists. But you don't get that feeling in game. So, you're just like, oh, she's a little out there, and she goes jetting off into the sky.
She's a kindred spirit to Rohan. But yeah, I'll head back to the unicorn and try to set off towards what I'm hoping is the last settlement that was far to the north.
Okay. Yeah, so the unicorn is there, waiting for you, and she says, did you find the old woman? Yes, you don't need to answer. I can smell her on you.
She was expecting me.
Yes, no doubt.
Well, in order to survive this storm, I'm afraid we need all the assistance that we can muster.
All
and
right.
Just as I appreciate yours, I will appreciate hers as well.
Well, are you ready to move on?
I am, thank you.
All right, so she once again lets you get on, and then she takes off, and the world blurs again.
Okay.
Make sure it's something real quick. All right, so yeah, the world blurs, and then you find yourself once again on the outskirts of the forest, like along the tree line, looking over a field that's been cleared and, being made ready for agriculture. And there's one house here, but it's a big one, like not opulent, not rich, but large, as if a lot of people have got to live there. So you've got, this one's built in sort of a longhouse style, and you don't see any activity around the place. Like it's dark enough now that people would start to have lanterns going. There's no light coming from the windows. There, you can tell, there's a barn, and then there's the home, and you can even tell just by the looks of it where the family would live, and then where the worker quarters would be. Even though it's all the same building, you can see there's definitely a separation. And there's a well and a corral outside the barn, and there's obvious signs of work having been done here, but you don't see any people or animals.
Okay. As I, trot up to the house, I'll be calling out, "People of Cradle, the hero of the sky comes to speak to you. Please assemble."
Silence. Nothing responds. The raven takes off and it's flying circles around up above, but nobody comes out to see.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get up to the door and knock once and kind of push it open a crack to call inside.
Yeah. Well, so the door's open. When
Oh.
you get up there, you can see that the door's open and only the bottom half is still attached. The top half is laying on the floor inside, and it looks to have been cleaved apart with a large blade of some sort, large axe.
Okay.
So you look inside there, and this house, this is where the owners of the land would live, and so you're looking into a common, basically a living area, a dining area. There's a table, there's food set on it, and then there's the section further back along the back of the house where the cooking would be done. Off to the right would be another room, and to the left you imagine would be the owner's bedroom.
Okay.
But so there's food on the table, but no people.
Can I do like a survival check to see how long that food may have been sitting there?
Yeah. So, based off of the way that food looks, and you good enough to know what happens to, cooked food at certain periods of time, it's been there for about an hour.
Okay.
And the chairs are oddly positioned. Like they're not scooted under the table like they would be before someone comes to sit in them. They're all, pushed out a bit and twisted to the side as they would be if someone stands up from a meal.
So just kind of taking in the scene, it kind of looks like they were having dinner and had to leave suddenly. Everyone kind of got up and left at the same time.
Yeah, it looks like something interrupted them.
Okay. Do I see any kind of back exit to this place from the living area that I'm in?
Yeah. So you're like in the kitchen / dining room, and there's a back door there.
Okay. I'll check out the back door, trying to see if I can find any sign of people leaving through that way or any violence or anything like that.
All right. So you step out there in the backyard, and there is a chicken coop back there, and there's a wood shed where chopped wood has been stocked up, and then you can see the pile there where people would chop their wood, and then beyond it, there's the hills. The hills start about 100 yards away. Do your survival.
All right. Decent.
Okay, so you see tracks on the ground out here, and they're not properly sized. For one thing, they're bigger than elven feet. They're obviously wearing boots, but you can see as you follow them that it looks to you with your expert skills at tracking that there were 3, 2 of them of a size, and the third one a bit smaller than them, but still with the gait of a woman, but still larger than elven women. And they spent some time at each of the windows along the back of this house before they made their way to the back door.
All right.
And a little further away in the backyard there, you find the evidence of people being dragged by these same tracks. So whoever these 3 people or 3 figures were, they dragged 13 people away, and that is 11 adults and 2 children. And they dragged them to the northeast towards the hills, and the ground about 25 feet away from the back door goes back to wild ground with grass and rocks and shrubs, because this backyard area has been cleared for work, so it's basically just dirt, but the tracks go in that direction. And when you're looking up in that direction, you spot something on the ground up there behind this stunted tree that's just inside the wild ground.
All right. I'll kind of take a glance at this guy and the imposing clouds coming and rush off to check this last thing before I know that I'm going to have to head back to the town. And then coming to terms with the fact that I may have to abandon these people to their fate.
All right, so you go over to that tree and look down at what you'd seen on the ground, and it's a dog, a dead dog. It's had its throat ripped out.
All right. Yeah, seeing this, I'm gonna try and get a good positioning of where we are and where which direction the tracks are headed into the mountain or into those hills, but then kind of shake my head and run back to the unicorn.
All right, and then with that, do one more survival while you're looking at that dog.
Okay.
Checking for those traps. All right, so you can easily spot the tracks. Some of the adults needed to be dragged, and the children's footprints disappear.
Okay.
And as if they've been picked up to be carried.
The size of these tracks, we've come across a lot of different sized enemies. Are they like the hill giant, like what was it, the Mama Yaga size tracks, or orc tracks, or
orc or hobgoblin sized?
Okay.
Much bigger than you, but not. But that's about right.
Okay.
And then the other thing you notice with that survival is that the dog's throat's been ripped out, but there's nowhere near enough blood on the ground. And you can just tell by the status of its body that it doesn't have much in it, if any at all. So it bled out somewhere else is the nearest thing you can figure.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll head back to the unicorn.
Right. And one last thing. Sorry. All this happened. I already said that food had been there for over an hour, around an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's no way I can catch up, even if I wasn't as wounded and fatigued as I am. I don't think I'd be able to do much good for him. So yeah, I'll head back to the unicorn and say that I'm afraid that this group of people may be lost, and I must return to the village to finish preparations against this storm. Could you transport me one last time close to the village?
Yes. Now remember your promise to me.
I most certainly will, if we survive.
All right. You get on the unicorn one last time, and the earth sort of blurs, and you find yourself just inside the tree line, looking at the path that will lead up to the village. She says, "This is as far as I may take you. The forest is my home. I wish you the best of luck."
Thank you. And if you ever need assistance, please find a way to reach out to us.
I will. Farewell.
Farewell.
All right. You're like on what used to be the grassland, right at the juncture where the path goes down to the beach where all the fishermen go, to the docks, and then up into the village.
All right. Yeah, I'll move as fast as I can back up towards the village.
All right. Okay, so you're moving there, and then we'll go to Casimir and Graham. Okay. Graham, Casimir, back at the home. What are you guys doing?
Well,
we're on our way to track down Rohan or Fenrith.
Oh, you were going to Fenrith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, after our, was it Mudswin or whatever his name is? After he finished eating.
Yeah, Mudsway.
Mudsway,
yeah, so,
there
okay.
we go.
So we'll be there. Yeah, he finishes eating, and then, Folwyn comes in and says he fell asleep at the table. Shall I get him to a room?
No, we're going to have to vacate the manor according to, who was it? Was it Fenrith's prophecy? Oh, no, it was,
Ythlani?
Ythlani's prophecy. You as well. We'll all make our way to the temple of his god. There we should be sheltered from the storm, hopefully.
Very well. I'll gather some supplies, and I'll bring him along.
All right. We'll venture ahead then. If we don't see you by nightfall, I'll come looking for you, but I doubt there should be any reason to worry.
All right, so he goes about to start making his preparations, and you guys go to head to the temple grounds. There is, it's getting pretty dark now because of the storm approaching, and it'll be evening very soon as well. So you guys are getting set to go join Fenrith, and as you do that and step outside, there you see this flash up in the sky, and you look and you can see this green light streaking towards you, and in a matter of seconds it becomes evident that there's a person flying towards you, and as they get closer you can see that it is apparently a very old woman, and she's got a big cat on her lap, and she's riding what appears to be a broom with green light coming from it, and she's even cackling as she approaches. So it looks to you like at her speed and her angle, she's certainly going to crash into the ground, probably right in front of you, but she pulls up on the broom at the last moment and then slowly descends to the ground. So she's hovering above the ground still. And she looks at you both and says, "Hail, heroes. I have had the honor of meeting your brother Rohan, the hero of the sky, and he sent me here, said I would be able to find shelter from the storm." So this woman is just beyond old, and clearly she's got elven features, but whatever effects have, removed the signs of age from others, they haven't had a chance to get to her yet, and so it's impossible to tell how old she is, but probably as old as you can get, as near as you can figure. And so she's like real hunched, and her skin's leathery, and she's not a pleasant sight, but she does have a friendly look on her face, and has a friendly tone.
We have the same.
Go for it.
Oh, I was just asking if we had the same understanding of who she was that you had described to Rohan. This whispered rumors of an old lady.
Yeah. So that's what immediately pops to mind when you look at her. Is that story about the old crone that lived out by the swamp, and everybody didn't think she really exists, but here she is.
Wow, you're real.
I'll
Yes,
give Grandma a look.
As real as you.
Of course, ma'am. We were just heading towards the temple now, where we're supposed to shelter. If you want, we can take your bags and escort you.
Oh, that won't be necessary. Thank you. And she says, "The temple, huh?
Apparently.
Well, I'm afraid I won't be comfortable in such a place. No, I will not. I will stay here."
Very well.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Can have what's his name? It's not Hogwin. What is it?
Folwyn.
Holwyn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we can have Holwyn prepare you a room if you wish to stay inside the actual house.
No, thank you. I believe I'll stay right outside where it's comfortable. And she starts cackling again, and that cat gives you like a mean look. And then she starts like slowly floating off over, generally towards where the rocks would be outside. When they're outside, she goes over in that direction. There's a cliff that overlooks the ocean. She says, "I think I'll stay over here. Thank you."
Do you require any assistance?
Oh, no, don't worry about me. I'll be quite all right. You only worry about the villagers. They'll need you before the night's done.
Very well, ma'am. Make yourself at home, then. Please.
Okay. What do you make of this? I'll pull out one of those prophecies and kind of explain the situation to
her. So she looks at it, and, she grabs it from you with her gnarled hands that, look bigger than they ought to be, and she holds it really close to her face, and she reads it. She says, and then she spits on the ground and smells the paper, and then she gives like a hiss, And she glares at you balefully and hands it back to you. It says, "No magic. Disgusting.
You're
Keep that
just like
filthy
what?
thing away from me. And if you knew what was good for you, you'd toss that thing into the ocean."
Well, I'll
and
tuck
then
it
she
back in my
cackles.
pocket. Look at her suspiciously.
She's going to put a curse on you.
Is she a vampire? I think I'll be okay if she's not.
It's not that
I think
you
it's-
can tell.
I think there are worse things than a vampire.
But they're my weakness, Casimir. I
My
still
one
have a secret
weakness.
mission. Yeah, so I'll just tuck it back in my pocket for now. But I have nothing else to ask her.
Okay. All right. So then you guys are heading off towards,
Yeah.
and that'll take you through the village. Past the village town hall, and that is around the area where you meet up with Rohan, who you can see approaching from the east, coming up that path, and so you guys all see each other there.
Is there anyone still in the village that might need help?
No, I mean, it doesn't look like anybody needs help. You still see people hustling and bustling and grabbing supplies
Okay.
and, moving along, but nobody that seems like they're in trouble.
So, yeah, I'll wave to Rohan
Yeah.
and
I'll wave
start
back
approaching.
I'll wave back and, jog my way up to them.
So you succeeded in your task, Rohan?
As well as I could. It seems I was a bit too late for one of the outlying farms. Some group of larger creatures, humanoid, seems to have dragged them off into the hills.
We'll have to make note of it and circle back there, perhaps after the storm has been weathered. We had an interesting encounter as well. Perhaps Graham will want to tell you on that one, as he was the one who saw it.
Graham, what did you find?
Oh, well, we found a human, I guess, or, he claimed to have...
Human?
Yes, he claimed to have been out in the ocean and was caught in a storm such as the one that approaches, and his ship was scuttled, and he arrived here. I don't trust him, though.
No? What about him has drawn your distrust?
Mm.
I can't put it into words. It's a gut instinct.
I agree with Graham on this. His armor is rather odd. His arrival before the storm, but he made no outward signs of hostility towards us. Once he found out that he had been captured, I threw a net on him. So I have no reason to believe he should be executed immediately, but I definitely agree with Graham. Distrust is probably the best course of action.
So we left him alone in the hero house, and Folwin's gonna bring him to the temple.
You left him alone?
Well, yeah, he fell asleep.
Well, if the storm is coming, we should probably bring him to the gathering as well, along
yeah.
with Bolwin.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Okay.
Wait a
How are
second.
the rocks doing? I've been gone most of the afternoon. Has their situation improved? Was Benrith able to help them?
No, not at all. We were able to get them into the stables and close the doors and hope that they are able to weather it there.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been thinking that maybe the best course for this is to treat it as if it's a gangrenous wound and hope that Fenris' magic is able to heal up after we cut out the infection. But I'll have to talk it over with him.
Well, I did come across several pieces of legend from our village while I was out trying to bring the villagers in. One of which was the old hag that lived over by the swamp. I sent her ahead, and she flew off. Perhaps her knowledge of magic could fill in the gaps where we are lacking.
Perhaps. She's currently outside the stables setting up for her shelter or whatever it is she plans to do. We could go perhaps bother her about it.
I wouldn't count on it, Rohan. She wasn't very helpful when I asked her about this, and I'll pull out the slip of paper and hand it to him.
Where did you find this?
I came out of the gnomish machine of transmogrification.
So you've been playing with that thing again, have you?
Yeah, recharged a obsidian wand and my ring.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Those have proved
What else
very
did it do,
valuable.
Graham?
Let me think. It added some extra charges to the wand. We're not sure what they do. That's about the long and short of it.
It apparently malfunctioned in some fashion. I think it was a malfunction anyway, and it caused Graham to lose control of his vocal modulation.
What exactly do you mean by that?
He began to shout uncontrollably, and anything that seemed to be linked to language, such as the ability to sign. He also motioned violently.
Yeah, it did shoot some sort of force out at me. It made my legs tingle for a little bit, but and my voice, I couldn't stop shouting. That's true. But
So there does
spat
appear
out
to
these
be
pieces of paper.
That's also something that it did, prophecies of some sort. For me, it's readable in at least 7 languages.
Let's see, what have I got? I've got Celestial, Common, Dwarven, Elven, Goblin, and Orc. So, yeah,
Oh, nice. There's our Dwarven.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting and strange. Perhaps once we have a little bit more time, we can decipher what they mean.
If they mean anything.
If they-
The crones seem to put little stock into no magic.
Just
That's
like Bloodtooth.
Unfortunately,
Who?
there's a lot about this world that we don't know.
But anyway, the sun's setting. Best decide what it
Yes.
is we're going to do. Are we going to stay with the crone, or are we going to make it to the temple? Because I fear we might not have time for both.
I believe we should head to the temple. If she believes she's safe here, she seems to understand magic better than I do. She was even waiting for me when I arrived, as if she knew I was coming.
Hope she doesn't turn the human into a toad. All right, let's go.
All right. So, Brandon, I guess we're heading into town to meet up with Fenrith.
Right. So he's at the temple grounds, and so you guys head there. And I'll share the map with you guys so you can see what it looks like here. Okay, there's Rowan and Kaz. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so you step off the path into this temple grounds here, and it's a green field surrounded by trees of different sorts. You can see willow trees and oak trees, and just in general, pine trees and things like that. And they create this sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But there's this open space here, and you can see, and you can see the temple up there. It's still under construction, but that's basically what it looks like there. And people are starting to gather in the central area there at the bottom of those steps and around there. And you can see a lot of people are busy setting up tables, and they're setting up, fire pits in a sort of ring pattern in a smaller section there. Off to the side, you can see, well, actually, he's over here now. So off to the left side, you can see Fenrith standing in front of a tree with his hand placed on it and his head bowed. And you can see Yathlani on the steps, and she's giving directions to people. But she spies you as you step off of the path into this clearing, and she motions you to come speak to her. Let me put her on there.
If it's the Elven Sorcerer's token, then I'll have no choice but to attack it.
Yeah.
It's on my vindictive kill list.
Nope, not that one. There you go. So she's standing there, and she motions you forward so you can speak with her. And then when you get up to her, she looks over you, and she's like, most of the people seem to be here. Ron, did you have any luck gathering the farmers?
As many of them as were still around, they should be trickling in over the next several hours. Some of them have quite a ways to travel before they reach here.
Well, nevertheless, you've done what you could for him. Once again, your heroism will save lives, but the three of you don't look well. You've been wounded and you need rest. Please go inside the temple and get some rest. We'll need you at full strength if my visions come true.
Thank you, Yithlani. How much longer does Finrith require to prepare for this? We need to talk to him.
It'll take as long as it takes.
I think it'll go even faster now that Cleric Graham has arrived.
That's right. I can use one of those special charges. It's an open area, Casimir.
It's an open area populated by villagers that haven't been placed on the board.
I actually won't help consecrate the ground with spontaneous use magic device.
With the blood of the village?
Yeah. Well, he didn't say how they'd be saved. Maybe it was a spiritual saving.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll walk past Yithlani into the temple and roll out a bedroll, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow him up, do the same thing, grab my book of help me pay attention to stuff, start flipping through that.
Attention span for dummies.
Yeah.
But it's written in Dwarven.
Oh, no.
It's all right. You can somehow understand it. Or at least you think you do. You just look at the pictures.
I said for dwarves, not halflings.
All right, so you guys go in there, and she's got a section of the main floor there where some stuff has been cleared, the tools and the materials has been cleared, so you can lay down there to get some rest. And, you know, when she closes the door, it's surprisingly quiet in here with all the hustle and bustle that was happening out there. You'd expect it to be a lot louder, but the materials they're using here block the sound out very well. So it's relatively quiet in this room. And she's got that section where you can lay down to get some rest.
I'll quickly collapse in exhaustion into a place where I can sleep.
Okay. And what about the rest of you?
Yeah, I figure I'll probably
Graham,
doze.
how long are you going to read that book?
Probably till I pass out.
Which is pretty quick with Graham, given his track record.
All right. So then, Fenrith, we'll go to you. So, do a fort and will in the tower, please. Okay. So you're working on this tree, and so let's see. Let's set the stage. Night has fallen now, and so it's dark, but the whole clearing is lit from all the fires that people have set, the fire pits that people have set up. And so it's well lit there, and you're standing in front of this tree, and beyond that is just the blackness. As the storm is getting closer, the weather's getting worse, so it's begun to rain. It's a very light rain, but it is raining, and there's a strong breeze blowing in, and you're praying over this tree, and you're about at your limits, you can tell. Like, even the act of standing is getting to be too much. Your legs are starting to shake, and your stomach is in constant pain from hunger, and all of your wounds are seeming to hurt worse than they did when you received them. But you dig deep and you manage to find the strength to stay upright and continue your prayers. And this apparition's constant pestering of you, you're able to push that away as well. And then suddenly you look up and realize that it's gone and has been gone. You don't know when it left, but it's no longer there. Behind you, you're vaguely aware of people getting things set up, and a lot of people are getting their kids into bedrolls so they can, sleep while the adults continue their preparations. And, the clearing is pretty full of people now. And, you can smell people are eating dinner and things like that. But it doesn't demand much of your attention. You're just vaguely aware of it. And then you're praying over this last of the trees that you haven't consecrated yet. And then finally it flares and you realize that whatever it is you're doing has worked now, and your job is done. So that draws your attention to the temple itself, where the large symbol of Coralon flares bright white, and the brightness dims a bit after that initial flare, but not much. It seems to hold that steady shine to it, enough that it hurts to look directly at it, and that bathes this whole clearing in daylight, basically. But there you are, and you're done. And you can see Yethalani on the steps up there. She turns and she's looking at it, but she's got a smile on her face when she turns around.
As I will return the smile and start heading towards the steps. I imagine I was pretty caught up with what I was doing, so I'm not sure if I would know. I would imagine I don't know that these guys are here. So
Right.
I am going to ask if the other heroes have made it.
Yeah, so she embraces you and she says, "Well done, you've done it. I knew you would do it. I think we have a chance now." Yes, your companions are inside resting. They were quite busy today as well. I'm sure they'll have much to tell you when they wake up, but you need your rest. You must get your rest and pray. The Coralon will strengthen you for the battle that comes. And that's when she tells you that she's had another vision that, and she describes basically what you already saw, that the creatures of whatever type will approach, and some of them will break through. And that
Does
you and your
hers differ
companions-
than mine?
Well, hers does differ in one way, and that is that in hers you are able to successfully defend the villagers until the storm passes. Hers goes a little further as well, because she describes it at a certain point when the storm is almost past. She describes an image of the energy of that storm funneling to the temple itself, this sort of purple vortex hitting the temple itself. And she says at that point it splits off and travels across the horizon in the four directions, and then suddenly the storm is gone. She doesn't understand what that means, but you didn't have that part of the vision.
So I want to take a minute and share with her my experience while consecrating the area, is that there was a dark presence that was always hovering over me, weighing me down, trying to sway me to abandon the consecration, and it kept showing me that same vision, except the difference is that we didn't succeed, and that I knew that it had to be a false vision.
Yes, definitely a false vision. I believe my vision comes from Coralon himself.
It has to. I know it. With that though, I'll thank her for seeing to all the preparations here, and agree with her that I do feel extremely tired, and think a few hours rest before the work begins again is exactly what I need.
All right, so she ushers you inside, and you can see that spot over on the floor where your companions are all sleeping. Graham has he is laying on his back, and he's got a really large book spread over his face. You can see that he was reading it, and then he fell asleep, and the book fell on his face. But he's
so. I wanted to, I imagine I can see that they're still hurt, right?
Yeah, everybody has wounds for sure.
Would I still be able to try and heal?
Yeah, I mean, you still have some spell slots left, so definitely.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to try and do. And looking at everybody, I think I would be able to tell that Rohan is probably the worst off.
Yeah.
So I'll start with him. How many spell slots would you say I had? Did the consecration itself take up spell slots?
No.
Okay. So they're all together here. Can I spontaneously cast mass cure spells, since it has that cure in the descriptor?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the spell slot to transfer to it, you can.
So it'd be my 7th level slot.
Okay.
Well, let me target all of them.
It won't?
No, I said let me target all of them.
Oh, okay.
And then, let's see, I think, so Graham's good. I'll probably use convert a 6th level for mass cure moderate, and then probably have to hit Rohan one last time with single.
Okay.
So what's that like for us? Because now that we're healed, would we wake up and enter meditation, or would it wake us up?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it would bring you into the reverie mode if you're fully healed.
Okay.
All right. And then with that, I'll lay down with my 1 hit point damage and sleep for 8 hours.
Okay.
Is that really what you're...
So yeah, you guys all feel this warm energy flowing through you, and it wakes you up enough to look around, and you can see, Graham, you see some white object with little black dots on it right in front of you, and you realize you've got the book on your face, and then you move that, and you can see Fenrith standing there, and he's got his head bowed and his hands outstretched, and this soft blue glow is emanating from him and washing over you, and all of your wounds are being healed. And that brings you into, reverie mode, meditation mode instead of sleep mode.
Yeah, I'll give him my thanks and then save my place in the book and start the meditation.
Is it the first 5 pages?
Probably.
He read through the very first page where it starts to describe what the book is about, and that's it.
Thank you, Fenrith.
You're welcome. I think tomorrow will be a true test for us, as I'll give them an idea of what that vision was, as probably too exhausted to go into full detail with it, but I'm going to keep Yathlani's ending rather than the one that I was shown.
Okay. Yeah, so he describes this vision to you, and, it's up to you guys what you think about it, but 4 hours passes. That's the time in which you do your reverie, right? It's 4 hours?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess Graham doesn't have to prepare anything, so
yeah.
You got
Graham,
spells
go
left
see if our...
over?
Hmm?
Are you about to prepare?
Yeah, you want me to put stuff in your ring?
Yeah, I got 4 levels open.
Okay. Anything particular? Shield or...
What were we doing?
Blink?
Yeah, I was getting
Displacement?
blink and...
All right. I don't know if I have it prepared. You might get displacement instead.
Do you
just give me
want
what you got.
darkness on a coin as well? I guess before.
Oh, well, might as
that'll
well.
tell me if I need to pray for it in the morning.
Yeah, might as well. Last
You got 3 levels, you say?
4 levels.
4. All right. Well, looks like it's going to be displacement and shield, unless you want haste and shield.
Displacement and shield will work.
All right. Oops. There we go.
As I guess the night before, I can also put that inflict, Sirius, back into mine and yours armor as well, Casimir.
I haven't used it yet.
Oh, okay. So just mine.
Yeah, but anyway, so while I'm putting these spells in your ring, Graham, check and make sure our guest has arrived. If not, we may have to go fetch him. Thank you.
Okay. So, Graham, you're going to check on if Mutsue is here?
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, you step outside and you can see it's dark now, but the whole place, it's dark past this clearing that you can see, but the clearing itself is like bright sunlight. And you can talk to Yathlani, and she says, yes, I've got him sleeping under one of the wagons over here. And off to the left and right side of the temple itself, there's, all the different wagons are sitting there. That's where they've been parked after they were unloaded. And she says he's sleeping underneath one of them over there. He looked very tired.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll go walk right up to him and look at him suspiciously.
Yeah, so you do find him sleeping. So curled up in a blanket underneath the wagon, and he's snoring a little bit. He doesn't have his helmet on, so you can see his face.
Yeah. Anything interesting, poking out of his belt or?
Not that you can see.
All right. Well, I'll leave him to his rest then, and I guess I'll just make sure my family arrived to the shelter here and head back to the rest of the guys.
Yes, your family did arrive, and they've got a little spot set up by one of the fires there.
Yeah, I'll just give them a wave from a distance.
Okay. Yeah, so they return your wave, and you can see your sisters want to come darting over, but your dad catches them and says something to them, and they look dejected, but they go back to their bedrolls there. And then Rohan, it's about 8 hours from when you had predicted the storm would sweep over the village. Let me check.
I'm going to hide and move silently. Make sure she can't find you.
As I also want to cast Zealot Pact on myself again in the morning, Brandon. As that's a 10-minute one.
No.
No, we're like 16.
All right.
It's just that we were going in human years originally, so we were technically like adults for purposes of adventuring.
Rohan, your mother is here. She looks worried, but she listens to you and says, "I will, but please be careful." You were always so dramatic, Rohan. No.
Just go to the top of the tower.
Yeah, they're like they're natural stone that's been carved to that shape, and they're like pillars that are about 20 feet off the ground, so you would have a pretty good line of sight from on top of them. I mean, the only thing that would block you then would be the tower. The left or the right? How's that? Okay. All right. And what do the rest of you want to do?
Preparing spells.
Yeah, I'll be praying, and then I'll cast my one Zealot Pact as start strapping on my armor.
All right, so you guys are making those preparations, and so are all the people. I mean, they're getting ready for their ceremony, their prayer, really. So Yathlani's got them all assembled, and she's walking around talking to them, and she's saying, we're going to have to dance, and no matter how tired you get, you can't stop, and it doesn't matter what dance you do, just so long as you mean it, and, given lectures like that. And then she does say, that you must continue no matter how horrible things look, no matter how bad the storm gets, and no matter what comes to stop us, you must continue. And you can see resolute looks on all the faces of the original inhabitants. A lot of the new ones they look really confused, like they don't understand what's happening, but they are here nonetheless. So that's what it looks like going on out there. And then at dawn is when the dance starts. So before then, people are eating, a hurried breakfast, and it's a big meal. And then they start their dance at dawn, and they start, singing a song to Coralon. And most of them don't know the words, so Yathlani sings it, and then they sort of like awkwardly repeat after her, but eventually they get it, and that's the way the morning starts here as the sun comes up. And the sun itself coming up doesn't have much of an effect. You can see that the entire sky is darkened by these clouds, and you can see from the trees that the wind is blowing very hard, and they shake. But in this clearing, everything remains calm. So even when it begins to rain, you can actually see the drops hitting some barrier up above you. and sliding down the sides of it. And, there's a calm breeze, but it doesn't matter how hard the wind blows outside. That's all there is inside here. So at around the time when people are eating their meal, Rohan, up on your vantage point there, you're looking out towards the south where the storm is coming from, and you can actually see that lightning has begun striking the ground of the island, and it's that same purple lightning that moves slower than lightning ought to, and it stays in place definitely much longer than lightning ought to, but it has the shape and form of it, but you can see it striking. Okay. Yeah, so by your estimation, as you look over the faces, it seems to you like all the people that you had contact with did manage to make it here. And then Casimir, Fenrith, you've got your spells prepared, and Graham, do the three of you want to do anything special, or just stand and wait?
Well,
I'll stand and wait. Maybe by the what is that, like the southern edge of the barrier?
Okay.
I'll kind of position myself.
yeah, I'll think about reading my book some more, but when I see,
Like down here?
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, I'll go down. Yeah, I guess I'll go roughly to where Casimir is, just on the opposite side.
Guess that is something that I will do. It's sort of as I'm walking down that way, as I'll scan the crowd for my brothers, my younger brothers. But for the most part, I won't wave out to them or call out or anything like that.
Yeah, so Karadir and Elred, you find them, and they're with your mother and father. And both of your brothers have like quarterstaffs, and they're participating in this dance and twirling them around. And like you get close enough to overhear like your mother saying, put those down before you take someone's head off, and they argue and say, this is the way we dance. And she decides not to argue with it, and so she lets them. So they're twirling these things around, and as she predicted, they're getting dangerously close quite frequently to smacking somebody's head with them, but people give them their distance, and they seem to be having a great time.
Nah, well, good for them. How drunk does my dad seem to be?
This actually is one of the few times you can ever remember seeing him not drunk.
Okay. I'll be kind of taken aback by that, but
yeah, whatever has taken place since last time you spoke with him, it's not like there's not opportunity. There's plenty of wine being passed around, like plenty of wine.
Yeah,
but he's not taking any of it. So
I'll figure maybe. Okay, I'll figure maybe the changes that occurred to the village, like the random people popping up and the forest growing overnight, maybe it also affected some change on the people other than just growing younger.
He thought that it was the drink doing it to him. That's why he quit.
Huh?
Where do all these people come from?
I keep drinking like this, I'll turn into a baby. Can't fish if you're a baby.
So, Rohan, you're standing up on that platform there, and you're looking off towards the east. And, because of the storm, it's dark outside of this field you're in. But you can see a little bit through the trees. It's difficult because even if it were a bright day, it'd be hard with as thick as the trees are and as big as the trees are here. But you look down, you get a good angle, you can see back through the trees. And looking that direction on the other side of those trees, eventually you reach, another cliff that would drop you right on top of the path that leads down to what used to be the grassland. So there's a good amount of sections of it that are pretty flat ground. And so you're looking back through there, and you see, well, do a spot. No, just throw it out. Okay, so you see, I'll give you a description here. You see movement back there in those trees. And actually it happened like lightning struck out there, this purple lightning. And when it was gone, in its place, you see a 15-foot tall obelisk-like pillar of utter blackness, but it's moving. Yeah, it looks something like that. Yeah, that's what you think it is. But you see this one now back in those trees, and it's got, it's shaped like an obelisk, straight, four sides, a point at the top, but it's moving. And as it does, it wobbles a bit all along its length that gives away that it's not entirely solid like rock would be, like parts of it move that shouldn't as it's moving forward towards the edge of this, force field here that you've got. It's moving in that direction. And as you're watching it, you can see something at the base of it, smaller things, separate things, not shaped like that, but also moving in your direction. And the one last thing you see of that obelisk one is that it chances by a deer that it gets spooked and tries to dart away, and just part of this obelisk shoots out and catches that deer and pulls it into itself, and it disappears. So that's what you spot from up there. And you see other smaller forms at the base of it that you can't tell anything about those. It's just that they are there and they're moving, but you can't get the general shape of them. Yeah, so he has to do that because it's too loud here for you guys to talk and hear each other, because this song and dance is like really loud in this space and everybody's dancing around. But you do spot that Rohan is making signs towards you, and he's talking about things moving through the trees. And then Casimir, you do a spot too.
All right. Yeah, Casimir's spot right there.
Yeah, so you go looking around and you don't see anything, but on your side anyways. And then Fenrith and Graham do your spots.
Yeah, so I'll sign up all clear, like in front of me, basically.
Jeez. I think that's the third or fourth 3 and fourth or maybe fifth 5 that I've seen.
All right, Graham.
Yeah.
Graham, you see something as you're looking towards the south there. The trees get much smaller and eventually give way to the hard, rocky ground towards the village. But you see figures moving in your direction as well from down that way. And like the one that you can see, you're sure you can see all of it anyway, is it's hard to describe. It looks like a bubbling ball sort of slithering its way to you. It reminds you of the black pudding that you guys had faced in the dwarven city. It's just not cube shaped. It's like rounded, and it's bubbling and oozing towards you, but it's as black as you imagine anything can get.
Well, I or Bloodtooth will start mentally swearing for the lack of sneak attacks, but I will also signal that I see movement down here.
And this one has eyes, little red eyes in the general center of it as it's moving towards you. But as it shifts and goes around rocks or over rocks and its shape changes, you see that it has dozens of small eyes all around it and just one really big one in the basic center of it. All right. So yeah, so you sign, so you all see Graham say things are coming from this direction. And then Fenrith, you're looking through those trees. That's where the trees are the thickest, is that side of it. And you don't see anything over there.
Well, I trust enough in Rohan and Graham's sight to know that there is something coming. In those visions that I'd been shown, like, was there a certain point that those things had gotten through, or did they come through at multiple points? As I'd meant to ask you that earlier.
Yeah, they came through multiple points.
Okay, that was an all.
I mean, some of them even seem to come from above and just drop down.
Can I get up to here before?
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to be closer to those guys in case they need some assistance. And I will give a warning that that this is not going to be the only front in this battle.
All right. So you get down to there, and you can, at this point, you and Casimir can both see the one Graham was talking about, and the ground sort of slopes a little bit, enough that the ones beyond it were blocked at first, but now you can start to make out the tops of them as they move closer, so you know that at least 3 are coming from that direction. But inside the circle, the dance and the prayer continues, and the sigil of Coralon continues to flare brightly. But rain has now come in earnest, and it's pouring down on this dome. And it's sliding down. It's not getting through the dome, but it's at the point where when you look up, you were able to see past it, into the dark sky. But now all you see is water flowing down along the sides of it from the top. But so it's raining very heavily out there. And then the trees are starting to really shake from the wind. But
so in addition to watching for it, I do want to try and keep an eye on Rohan as well. So watch out for any hand signals.
Okay. All right. So he's easy to see up there on that platform. So, but that's where we're going to have to stop for today.
Okay. Dang.
All right. Thank you, Brandon.
We'll have to pick this up next
man.
time. Mm-hmm.
Next time the end of the world happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time you all die.
Oh,
one way
thank
or
you.
another.
This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.